is going on, football fans? My name is Juan Gorin, and this is Eddie Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. I am joined in a conference call filled with a few football experts in and of their own rights. I got Darius Riddick over to my left. I got Avery Collins over at the bottom. What's going on, guys?
What up? What up? How y'all doing?
5 and 6. All I'm gonna say is 5 and 6, and we still have a chance to make the playoffs. We need a lot of things to happen. We have a big week coming up against the Chargers. Then we got the Rams on Thursday night.
Darius, you are the most.
There is hope.
Darius, you're the most flip-floppity Patriots fan I have ever met. First, you want to tank for Justin. Now you're talking about hopes in the playoffs. Pick a lane, man. I've already accepted my fate as the number one overall pick.
That's like
the New York Jets. You can't flip-flop like that.
That's like me.
We win games that we're not supposed to win, and then we lose games that we're supposed to win. Like Denver, we should have won, and then we beat Arizona, Baltimore. So I'm just confused.
That's why you can't talk about playoffs. I mean, that's like me trying to talk about the playoffs because we got to win, and now we're in the hunt. Like, come on, stop
we
it.
are. We're in the hunt. Listen. We're in the hunt. Look at the playoff picture. You'll see.
You are as much in the hunt as the Bears were the number one seed a few weeks back. So that's where the Patriots are standing to me right now, honestly. But guys, I kind of want to accentuate this fact real quick. Last week, we had a pretty good show. It was after the Thanksgiving games happened. We reserved it for Friday, but I was feeling a little bit off my mojo. I couldn't really get the ball rolling as much as I used to. But that's because I was missing my McDonald's Diet Coke soda dispensary, and it's my good luck charm. I personally feel I was missing you too, Avery. But at the same time, can you provide me the sweet goodness that Diet Coke can? Not sponsored by Diet Coke, by the way.
Yes, I can by buying you one.
Oh, you got me there. Well, either way, I feel good. This feels like a good show today. We had some really good lineups to discuss. But before that, let's clear up a little bit of old business, starting with the fact that who is now back on the number one list here for our fantasy team, because I won the weekend with a great record-setting performance by DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers. And better part, Darius lost. And you know what, Darius? You were begging people to beat me. You were begging me to lose and tank. And I don't take that sitting down, man. I don't take that sitting down.
You're tied.
This week is going to determine who's the real number one. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what? Like Darius, I respect you as an opponent and as a podcaster and as a friend. But don't ever call out for my losses, man. Always wish the best for everyone. Otherwise, I'm going to target you all the time.
It's called trash talking. It's friendly competition.
I know, but you were really like begging people to come at me, man. If we could show the private text in the 2020 league that we have, we would, and I'll show you how you're just targeting just me. You coming after the Juan and only here.
I don't want to talk about fantasy for like another maybe like 10 hours.
I feel bad for you, Avery.
Avery, you need a prayer.
Can I just tell the fans the story of what happened here? Okay,
make it quick, man. You got a minute.
Very quickly. So Thursday night football happens on Thanksgiving, right? Beautiful outing by DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Both score over 40 points. I said, oh, this is phenomenal. After the game, I decide to trade for Kareem Hunt. I let go of Frank Gore. I get Kareem Hunt. I'm like, okay, boom. I got me a solid running back number 2. Gus Edwards is in the starting lineup because of the fact that Ingram and J.K. Dobbins have COVID. I'm like, I've got a solid chance. Then what happens? The next Thursday night football game happens, and Antonio Gibson decides to cut that score. Mind you, I got 83 points at the time. He cuts it in half.
He just waving through that Dallas defense. Just waving through.
Outing. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, whatever. I'm like, that's fine. I still got a chance. And then Tyreek Hill happened.
Yeah.
70 points by himself. So even without Antonio Gibson's 40 points, I had 83. Tyreek had 70 by himself.
Yo.
I think the term is any given Sunday, Avery. Any given Sunday.
Needless to say, I had my highest scoring output of the season. And so did my opponent at over 250 points.
Well, I mean, Avery, you do have the chance to make a return in the fantasy lineup to try to get your ways in. And with that being said, we're going to talk about our first return of the day as we dive into today's rundown. And the first thing on the list that we're going to be talking about today is the return of Josh Gordon after serving an indefinite suspension for violating the NFL substance abuse policy for the 5th time in his career. The NFL is allowing Seahawks receiver Josh Gordon to return to play conditionally for Seattle's final 2 games of the season. Gordon can begin COVID testing on December 4th and can join the team on December 9th, provided that he tests negative for the coronavirus. Gordon at one point was one of the NFL's most talented young receivers, which showed up in a league-leading 1,646 receiving yards for the Browns in 2013. That was 7 years ago, you guys. Time flies by and makes fools of us all. Gordon last played in 2019 for the Patriots and the Seahawks. He accumulated 27 catches for 426 yards and 1 score with the Patriots and the Seahawks in 2019. Next thing that we move on to, we're staying in the division. We're going from the north of Washington to the south of Santa Clara, in which the San Francisco 49ers, we all know the story that they're getting kicked out of Santa Clara because of the rule they put in the county that there cannot be any contact sports for the next 3 weeks there. So they're moving their operations down to Arizona. Well, they will be hosting their home games at the farm where the Cardinals play. Now Shanahan, being the coach that he is, has been remarked not only for being an offensive genius for the 49ers, but also a considerate coach, as a report came out today that with the 49ers forced to relocate to Arizona after their home in Santa Clara banned all contact sports, Shanahan came together with 20 of his players on Wednesday night and asked them to keep an eye out for anyone struggling mentally with the move to Arizona. San Francisco will host their next 2 games at the farm, playing the Bills in Week 13 on Monday night and the Washington football team in Week 14. Moving on into injury news, we have 2 bits of news coming out of the AFC North. If Darren was here, he would not want to hear. I don't know how he'd feel about hearing about this, but we roll with it. The first in Cincinnati, star rookie quarterback Joe Burrow officially starts his recovery process, undergoing knee surgery on Wednesday for his torn ACL, MCL, and additional structural damage. With everything going as planned, according to his doctors, and Burrow is expected to make a full recovery. He suffered his injury in Week 11 against the Washington football team. Going down to the Three Rivers now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have confirmed today that edge rusher Bud Dupree is out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL. He finishes his 2020 season with 8 sacks, 23 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and additionally, he was franchise tagged. There was no long-term contract, so it is a Dak Prescott situation happening in Pittsburgh. He is not the only Steelers defender to go down with a significant injury. Remember, middle linebacker Devin Bush went down earlier this year in Week 6 against the Browns with a torn ACL. And then finally, we're rounding it out with a trip back into the NFC West. On Monday, Rams head coach Sean McVay uncharacteristically called out his franchise QB Jared Goff, saying that Goff has to do a better job at taking care of the ball, having thrown 2 picks in 3 of his last 4 games. Goff responded on Thursday to reporters about the comment, saying that he agrees with his head coach. Quote, "If he was lying, I'd feel differently about it. He's absolutely right. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. We have a great relationship, and I'm accountable for myself." And Los Angeles will travel down to Glendale this Sunday to face the Cardinals, who sport a defense that has only a +1 turnover differential, 17 total on the year. And guys, that will wrap it up for today's rundown. And we're just going to do a couple deep dives on the stories here. With Darius, I want to ask you, man, Josh Gordon was a Patriot not too long ago, and he was a decent player for New England during his time there. Helped win them the Super Bowl against the Rams in 2018. And this is his 5th drug suspension. He's had 6 total in his career. Does Josh Gordon really deserve this 6th chance at the NFL? Because that's a question a lot of reporters have been asking for during his 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd chances.
I definitely think so, man. We got to look at Josh Gordon's story. It's kind of sad. It starts with obviously his circle, who he's hanging around with outside off the field. But I definitely think Josh Gordon deserves a chance. I mean, we look at a guy in 2013, like you said, the number speaks for himself. When this guy's healthy, arguably he arguably is a top 5 wide receiver when healthy. His numbers have proven it. You know, he's a big body guy, 6'3", can run almost every route, can win the 50-50 ball. And one thing we have to understand, Josh Gordon really hasn't had the chance to be an unrestricted free agent. He's never really had a chance to go out there and actually test the market and sign for a long-term deal. Now, part of it is his fault because of the suspensions, but if he can prove himself in these final 2 games and Seattle makes a deep playoff run and he stays clean off the field and performs on the field, he deserves a chance not only to play next year, but to make some type of money. Like I said, the guy never really had a chance to make any type of money because he's always been under that restricted free agent where he's not going to get, you know, the money that we're seeing Odell getting and the Julios and all that, even though he's, you know, he plays, his play speaks for him. So I definitely think that Seattle with Josh Gordon coming in the last 2 games, they definitely can use him. And you can kind of just line him out on the outside. And I think that offense is going to be scary if Josh Gordon can really learn the playbook and build chemistry with Russ, with DK and Tyler.
And Avery, like Darius said, with Gordon coming back, he adds to an embarrassment of riches on offense that the Seahawks already have with Chris Carson, with Tyler Lockett, David Moore, and DK Metcalf. Will it be like a Tampa situation where there's just too many people to feed the ball to, or can the Seattle Seahawks find a way to develop to work an offense in cohesion with the addition of Gordon?
No, I don't think it'll be a Tampa Bay situation. I think Russ does a great job of getting the ball around. And the biggest difference I would say is there's nobody on that roster that's looked at as a diva. The only one that's looked at like that on Tampa Bay would have been Antonio Brown in the first place. And he's been, you know, quiet and, you know, steady in his tenure there so far. So I don't think it'll be a situation where it'll be too many mouths to feed. More importantly, we got to see what Josh Gordon can do, because he was on Seattle last year and he made some plays, but he wasn't, you know, fantastic for them. I think he definitely deserves another chance. I mean, it's not like, you know, he was doing something egregious like selling cocaine or something like that. I mean, he had an addiction that he knew was an addiction and decided to get help for that addiction. And now the league has actually made that the drug that he was using. It's not something that is I don't think you can get suspended for anymore. So it's like, okay, you know, give him a second chance. You know, hopefully he's got his mind in the right place, because that's really what it's all about.
You know, Chris Thomas is absolutely right. He's been out of the league on and off for the past 7 years. So expectations for Josh Gordon to have a monster season like that into 2021 might be a little, you know, much, especially because he turns 29 or 30 next year. So he could be on the wrong side of the age gap there. But that's one part of the NFC West. The other part of the NFC West, Avery, that we want to talk about was Jared Goff's comments and, you know, actually agreeing with McVay's situation. Not a lot of I don't know. For a lot of QBs, saying something like this to respond to the comments like that from the coach, some would be discouraged, others would just be a cold, typical response saying, yeah, I have to do better. Yeah, we just got to keep believing. But Jared Goff, the way he addressed it, is this kind of a sign of his maturity as a budding franchise QB for the Rams? Because remember, a lot of people doubted him as a franchise QB, calling him more of a game manager for McVay's offense.
Yeah, I think this is just a testament to his character, and it's what he's been the entire time that he's been in the league. I mean, he doesn't shy away from the scrutiny and the things that he knows he needs to work on. And it's like he said, it'd be one thing if McVay was lying. He's telling the truth. You're in the middle of a playoff push, a potential Super Bowl run. You can't be turning the ball over the way that you are. You got to be able to protect the ball. You've got a defense that's playing really well. You've got on offense, you look like you're finally starting to hit your stride. You can't turn the ball over and keep teams in games. You got to kind of put the pedal to the metal here and do what you got to do. And then also remember the type of coach that McVay is. That team just responds to him. He is really a player's coach in a sense where it's just like he's in the mix with the guys, but at the same time, he has enough respect that if he does call out a player, they understand that he sees something that needs to just be rectified. So I'm appreciative. I'm excited. I like I said, I've told people before, I think Jared Goff has Tom Brady type potential, not in the sense of the achievements. I don't think anybody we're going to see in the near future other than maybe Patrick Mahomes to get, to get the achievements as far as Super Bowls and different things like that. But from an X's and O's standpoint. I mean, and from a ball placement standpoint, from a demeanor standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, I can see a little bit of Tom Brady and Jared Goff, even some of the mechanical things. So,
and it's a lot like a system quarterback. Every QB is a system QB, and they're 7-4 on the year right now, Darius. And this is their schedule so far. They're at Cardinals for week 13, then the Patriots for Thursday Night Football, then the New York Jets, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Cardinals to close it all out. Give me an estimated record really quick on what do you think is the Rams are going to come out with.
I'm going to go, I think they're going to beat Arizona. The thing with Jared Goff is his inconsistency. One game he shows that he's the guy, right? He's the guy worth the big bucks. And then the next game you see him turn the ball over like we saw with 2 interceptions, right? So I definitely think Arizona. I think the Patriots game is obviously going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I definitely think that Jared Goff is going to struggle. We saw him struggle against that Patriots defense in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to struggle again. I think it's going to be a slugfest. So I could possibly, like Avery said, I could possibly see them going 3-2 and obviously making it to the wild card.
3-2, that would make it a 10-6 record for a wild card. We could potentially see 3 NFC West teams make it into the playoffs this year, which would be pretty interesting considering that this is a unique situation. Chris agrees with us too, 10-6 going into it. And guys, with how this league year has gone with injuries and rescheduling and people getting sick and everything, it's been kind of a whirlwind of a season with regards to what we've seen on the field and off of it. With that being said, it kind of makes me want to wonder how is the NFL doing with regards to handling the coronavirus. And there are 3 situations I kind of want to highlight when it comes to what is going on. 3 teams specifically: the Ravens, the 49ers, and the Broncos. Now the Ravens, their Thanksgiving football game was rescheduled because at least 10 players tested initially positive for the coronavirus, and then it went up to 23 members of the organization having tested over that 6-day span. Postponing it for Thursday to Sunday, from Sunday to Tuesday to Wednesday afternoon, and where they got their butts handed to them by the Steelers, 19-14. Excuse me, where they lost 19-14 in Pittsburgh. They had a lot of people complaining. RG3 even went in his presser saying, when people think, oh, maybe they just don't want to play, they don't want to do this, it's not that. We love football. We want to play football, but we also want to make sure our families are safe. Those things, family members becoming ill, they don't get reported by the media, which is a fair point that RG3 is making. For the Broncos, they lost all four of their QBs because one of them tested positive, and they were all in a room not wearing masks, but were socially distant with regards to having lunch. And because of that, the Broncos were forced to start a QB, a practice squad wide receiver at QB against a Saints defense that was top 6 in the league in points per game, and they lost 31-3 at Mile High. And then the 49ers, we just mentioned it earlier, having to relocate out of Santa Clara because the county is banning contact sports for 3 weeks. Now they have to move down to Arizona to play all of their home games, possibly for the rest of the year. I mean, guys, and I'll start off with Avery here. If you were to rate how the NFL has been handling the corona cases and these individual cases that I just listed, what would you give them?
Exactly what Chris just said. I think they handled this situation very poorly. Initially, I thought they started off pretty well, but when we're starting to see more spikes and everything, I'm seeing it unfold that the plan that they had in place just really wasn't a really good plan. Starting with, the whole Ravens situation. Like I said, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You expanded the rosters for a reason. The Ravens should have had to play the game on Thanksgiving. Maybe if you push it back to Sunday or Monday, I can see that. But Wednesday was awkward. It was weird. And I personally feel like it was unfair to the Steelers. It gave the Ravens more time to game plan how they're going to play against the Steelers team when the Steelers did exactly what they were supposed to do to make sure that everybody on the team or nobody on the team got COVID other than James Conner. He's the only one that we heard of. So for me, it's just like you're penalizing the Steelers for doing the right thing, and then the Ravens again. Now, obviously, you can't control COVID. You can't control it. If you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it. Then, But at the same time, don't put in these parameters where it's just like, okay, we're going to extend the roster in the event that some guys. Again, you did it because Lamar and Mark Ingram and J.K. Dot and these type of players were not going to be on the field, and it wasn't going to be as big of a draw. That's not fair to the Steelers, and that's my stance on that. As far as the Niners, I think I would say the first thing is shout out to Shanahan for saying check on the guys mentally, because this really is a taxing toll on some of these guys. So I appreciate that from a coach saying something like that. But in general, I just feel like the league, they could have done a better job, and it's just as simple as that. I think they could have done a better job. Like I said early on, I thought they had something in plan, but now I'm seeing it unfold, and I'm like, this isn't it. And if it continues this way, I'm afraid, not for the season, but for how the playoffs are going to go. I mean, if you're going to be pushing games, or what if you make guys at that point? Now, yeah, you still just got to play the game, and it's Patrick Mahomes, God forbid, But let's say it's somebody like Patrick Mahomes in an AFC Championship game, and he's got COVID. Now what? It's like, I just feel like they could have did a better job handling the situation.
And Darius, you had your team personally experience a bout of COVID cases to significant players, Cam Newton and Stephon Gilmore specifically. So you've seen what this virus can do to game planning and to, taking talent out of the squad. If you were to narrow down one remedy to try to fix this situation, what would it be for the NFL to do?
I think the one remedy would be not to game plan as the season goes. And I feel like that's what the NFL is doing. They're kind of just taking it week by week now instead of actually having a game plan before the season. I feel like they had an idea, and obviously, like Avery said, COVID is going to happen, right? But you have to be able to protect your players. You look at the Steelers game, right? It's unfair. It's unfair that the Steelers had, and this is the second time that Pittsburgh had to deal with this. The first time coming with the Tennessee Titans, and you see players voice their frustration on their social media platform. So it's not fair. But when the situation happened with Cam and Stephon Gilmore, I was a fan. I was like, I feel like we should cancel the game. I personally felt like that game at some point we should cancel the game. That's just how I feel. We talk about always how in the playoffs there should be some type of bubble. I hope the NFL has all come to agreement that that's probably the best thing to do going into the playoffs, because we all said at the beginning they can't do a bubble now. It's too late. They were never really going to do it with all those players and on top of the coaches. But in the playoffs, that's the best thing you can do, because we saw what happened when leagues like the NBA, even though it had less players, NHL, even baseball decided to do a bubble. That's the best way. And obviously, you have to enforce more penalties. The Saints have been celebrating without their mask, and you find them. I definitely think it should have been a harsher penalty because COVID is serious. Take some draft picks away. Do something like suspend players just to show that we're really serious about what's going on, and we're serious about protecting our players, but also as well as giving you fans some type of entertainment as well.
And with that being said, playoff implications are a very major thing now that we're in December, especially with teams that are facing with COVID and facing with injuries. It's a difficult assessment to try to go through. And there's one team that has been plagued with so many injuries and degradation of talent and illness. It has to be the Philadelphia Eagles. But, when we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, when you're kind of trying to analyze it as a whole, especially because, they're 3-7-1 in this year right now. Carson Wentz has obviously gone into a dramatic descent as a passer in this league. And the talent around him is just mediocre, to say the least. And a lot of fans have been calling for the heads of head coach Doug Pederson and general manager Howie Roseman. And Darius, I know you had a really strong opinion about both of these gentlemen right here. And so let me ask you, man, do these two deserve to get fired right now?
No. I'll tell you why. I personally felt like if the Eagles were going to fire Doug Pederson, Howie Roseman, they would have did it that Monday after Seattle lost. I think what the Eagles are going to do is they're going to let Doug Pederson, Howie Roseman play out the season. Because if you really look at it, the Eagles are still kind of in this. Like they haven't been completely eliminated. they still have a chance to win the division. Now they have a tough matchup against obviously Aaron Rodgers, who's playing out of his mind this season with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. But the Eagles, obviously, after this season, I definitely can see Doug Pederson going. I definitely can see Howard Roseman going just because of how they handled this offseason, drafting Jalen Hurts, drafting Jalen Reagor. You know what I mean? Obviously, Doug Pederson not calling the right plays offensively. So I definitely could see Doug Pederson and Howard Roseman going after the season. I don't think they're going to fire them while the season's going on because we're kind of at that point. They should have did it Monday or they should have did it last week. So I definitely think they're going to wait until after the season to get rid of both of them.
And Avery, there's two sides of this coin that you can look at for why both of these two are responsible for the downfall of the Eagles. First off, this team is 21-1 since they won the Super Bowl in 2017. Doug Pederson took this offense, which was 14th overall in the NFL last year, to 28th overall in 2020. He has not helped. He has, if anything, pulled an Adam Gase and caused the regression of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia, which is a guy who's trying to play hero ball, but has screwed up mechanics and isn't able to deliver when he can. Not to mention with Roseman, he could have had DK Metcalf in 2019. He drafted JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He could have had Justin Jefferson in the 2020 draft. He took Jalen Reagor instead. So if you had to choose just one person to get rid of, just one, who would it be?
I'm gonna let Darius jump in. He wanted to say something.
I will say this: if the Eagles didn't win that Super Bowl against the Patriots, Doug Pederson would have been gone. I think the Super Bowl against obviously Tom Brady, that was and you think the Patriots were on the verge of winning back-to-back Super Bowls that year. If he doesn't win that Super Bowl, he would have been gone. He would have definitely been gone. I think that Super Bowl really saved him because you look after the Super Bowl, what has Doug Pederson really done for that organization? You know, so that's what I would add.
So I just really want to quick touch on one of the comments Chris made as far as the Broncos and the Ravens, and I just posed a question. Again, we understand that the Broncos situation, that was just irresponsible. They were irresponsible. But the Ravens, though, you kept postponing the game. Why? Again, there's a reason why you kept postponing it. You didn't do the same for the Broncos, so why did you do it for the Ravens? Because you were trying to get certain players on the field. But anyway, if I had to choose one of those guys to fire, easily, without question, definitely would be Howard. There's no excuse for why you drafted Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor over DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson. There's absolutely nothing you can tell me that can justify it. There was nothing on the film in college that could justify it. There's nothing on the film that they're showing in the league that can justify it. There's nothing that you can tell me. I mean, to me, the best signing they've drafted player that they had in the last couple of years is Miles Sanders, in my opinion, right? And so he's the best player on offense at this point. And so to me, it's like he's clearly he doesn't have the vision for this team. And I would say the trickle down would have to go down after that. It would have to be Doug Pederson because you guys have to be on the same page with the people that you're drafting. And Doug Pederson kind of had to pass on that potentially. And in some sense, he had to say yes to this. And so to me, as you stated, Juan, he's been a part of the regression of Carson Wentz with his play calling. I mean, it's really bad. I remember watching the video that you posted in our chat. If you're not in the chat, definitely get on the Inside the Hash Football Talk chat in Facebook. But I remember watching the video, and the guy doing the breakdown stated that it was a first down play. Carson Wentz gets sacked, 6-yard loss. Now it's 2nd and 16. You run a play action fake, but with only a 2-receiver combination route. It was a max protect with 2 tight ends against Dallas. And it's like, why would you do that? They know you're not going to run the ball there, so the play action is not going to work. And then you only have 2 receivers out on the route when, again, none of your receivers have proven that they're going to dominate any DB in this league. It doesn't make sense to me. So, yes, he's been a part of the regression of Carson Wentz. I'm not liking it. I think that they really need at this point to revamp. And the reason why, the Eagles defense really keeps them in games. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Are they top 5? No. Are they top 10? Potentially. I know that defensive line, that front four. I mean, I'd put them up with some of the best in the league, if not the best. I mean, they're really that.
Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, Vinny Curry, Brandon Graham. Yeah, top pass rushing combo down there at the bottom.
It's not the defense. It's not the defense.
Exactly.
It's definitely not the defense.
My point is, and so that's why I'm saying I think on the offensive side, things need to get revamped. Doug Pederson, give over the play calling duty. You got to let that start there. Show that you're saying I'm going to be a coach now. And then as far as Carson Wentz goes, get him a quarterback coach. Just because you play quarterback doesn't make you a quarterback coach, Doug. Get him somebody who's going to work. His mechanics are horrible. And it shouldn't be that way. And he shouldn't be playing hairball.
The Eagles' 5 remaining games on the season at Green Bay, hosting New Orleans at Green Bay, hosting New Orleans at Arizona, at Dallas, and then hosting the Washington football team to round it out. Guys, this could easily be a 0-5, 1-4 situation that Philadelphia will be facing going down the stretch. And it's a hard schedule that you are going to have to deal. They're going to have to deal with. Because Jerome the Eagle fan, he will not accept a loss against the Dallas Cowboys, no matter what. He would rather go 2-14 with both wins. Message from Mr. Cole Johnson. Let's talk about the pressure about being put on Carson Wentz. Eagles organization has done nothing to help him progress. Bad drafting and a bad culture that still lives for the 2018 Super Bowl win. Cannot agree with you more, Mr. Cole Johnson. And I hope you're saying that not because you are a Giants fan. I know that for a fact. But I like the objective views that you brought there. So yeah, it's right. It's a bad culture out in Philly right now, which has kind of been the case in recent years, especially with the T.O. Donovan McNabb situation that happened a few years back, and that really brought on some memories. But with the Eagles going forward, they can conceivably go 4-11-1 to finish the 2020 season. But that's looking too far into the future. Right now, we're just going to look into Week 13, which brings us into our Week 13 game picks and hot takes. Guys, it is that time of the podcast. This is the time where we let loose and just rip teams apart. Who are we choosing? Who's the big game of the week and why? So I'm going to give it over to Darius first on that one.
It's a couple of games this week, man. We're in for a nice week. We got the Saints and Falcons. I always love that rivalry, man. I love those two teams. It's like they circle those games every year and they give it all they got. I definitely like that game, obviously, with Taysom Hill. Another game, a very, very, and I think this has potential to be a game of the week. The Browns and the Titans. Now, here's the thing with the Browns. The Browns are over 500, but they beat teams that's under 500. They struggle against teams with a winning record. Baker Mayfield threw, I believe, his first touchdown last week since week 7. And then obviously the Browns are committed to the run game. Then we go from the Tennessee Titans, who demolished Indianapolis Colts on the road with Derrick Henry. And I love how Ryan Tannehill is playing, especially signing that big contract. So I think that's going to be a really, really underrated game. One more game. I think the Eagles and Packers. And if the Eagles can actually somehow go into Lambeau Field and win, the momentum they can get towards the end of the season. That's if they do. Not saying they will. But if they somehow get it together and go in Lambeau Field and somehow upset the Packers, that can carry that momentum going into the later games in the season. My game, the hot take, I got the New York Giants, who are on a 3-game winning streak. They're going to go in Seattle and upset the Seattle Seahawks with their backup quarterback, and they're going to make it 4 straight games in a row. That is my hot take. The Giants are hot.
You're saying that Colt McCoy is going to upset Russell Wilson and the Seahawks?
We're going to believe in Joe Judge. He has that team playing very well. They're on a 3-game winning streak. That defense is starting to click. Offensively, it's still a bit of question, but I definitely think that defense of the New York Giants is very, very underrated. And that's my hot take. That's my game of the week because I really think the Giants are going to go in there and somehow pull off the upset. Don't be surprised if they do. Avery, we always talk about those weird games where you feel like a team is certainly going to win. I personally feel like this is going to be a game where the New York Giants are going to go in there and actually really beat the Seattle Seahawks. I definitely feel like that.
And I get where you're coming from, but granted, look, that offense for the Giants was rolling because Daniel Jones was starting to get on a hot streak over the past couple of weeks. He's out with a hamstring injury. Colt McCoy is a 30-something-year-old quarterback who has decent weapons, but not that great protection on the offensive line. The only saving grace would be the Giants' defense. And granted, that Seahawks defense is terrible. Like,
exactly.
But
can't really get to the quarterback.
But it has improved over recent weeks. So you know what? I might see it. And, Cole Johnson said it best because Darius is calling a win for the G-Man.
I'm telling you, don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. If they do it, do not. I have a weird feeling. Avery, you know that weird feeling when you feel like the team could actually upset them. So that's my high take.
Stephen A. Smith doesn't think you're right, man. Doesn't think you're right. And now, Avery, your take for this week.
Man, oh man, he brought up the Eagles Packers. I can't believe he did that one. That is disgusting. Like, I mean, as Cole just stated, they don't have an offensive line. Honestly, if I'm the Eagles at this point, I'm not trying to win any more games. Get a top 10 pick and bolster that offensive line. Jason Peters is getting old. Lane Johnson's getting old. Kelsey's getting old. Bolster that offensive line if you're trying to protect Wentz or whoever's going to be under center. Stop being stupid. I'm going to say, like, there's a couple games, as Darren said, that's interesting to watch. I'm interested to see Washington versus the Steelers. That's going to be interesting. I actually think Washington might be able to hand the Steelers their first loss of the season.
I'm
not foreseeing it right now. Not foreseeing it just yet. I gotta wait until I get that feeling, but I could see it happen. Bills 49ers. That's going to be a good game right there. The 49ers. I mean, they're overcoming a lot right now. I mean, the injuries, the COVID situation, and everything. But Shanahan has got that team playing and playing hard. Obviously, Rams-Cardinals is going to be something to watch. That's probably going to be the game of the week right there. But for me, I'm going to be a homer. Falcons Saints, baby. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to say the Falcons Saints. That's the game for me, man. Even the Colts Texans. That's going to be a good one. I actually have the Texans upsetting the Colts there. But it's upset week for me. I'm thinking that the Falcons.
I mean, you lose Brandon Roby and Will Fuller. I don't see.
That's why I said I don't know who's Deshaun Watson really going to throw to.
You're going to see that. You're going to see Deshaun Watson prove why his coach from college, can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Dabo Sweeney.
Dabo. Why he called him Michael Jordan of the league, and we're going to see that on display. But again, back to the Falcons Saints. That's a rivalry game that I love watching every year. It's up there to me. It's up there at the top of the echelon as far as rivalry games. Ravens Steelers is great. Packers Bears is always awesome. Different things like that. So for me, it's this game. My hot take is, again, being a homer, the Falcons are going to upset the Saints. I know it's not too much of an upset because they still, they have Taysom Hill. So Drew Brees won't be back. And I know people are like, well, Taysom Hill beat you guys already. I just have a feeling that the Falcons are going to go and put a hurting on the Saints. The defense is starting to play a little bit better. And I think the Falcons are going to come out and get the W here. And they're going to be back in the playoff mix, strangely enough. I would prefer for the Falcons to do like the Eagles. Just go ahead
right now.
Listen, I would prefer for them to just go ahead and lose and get some, a high draft pick. But after
Zach Wilson or Trey Lance.
But now after what they did against the Raiders, after they stomped them the way they did, I mean, I would say this: no team that's in the playoff race right now wants to face a team like Atlanta.
I will say this: granted, Atlanta has found itself back into a bit of a hot streak, but I was hoping your two takes would be one that Kamara makes a comeback because I need that for my fantasy. And number two,
he got his first touchdown for us ever in his career last game. He's not going to score again this next
And then the second one would be that
right there. He's not going to score.
And that the second take was that one of the Falcons defenders, Mr. Jalen Hawkins, whose Throwback Thursday video just came out for Inside the Hashes. Go check it out. That he has a good game because he had half a sack against the Raiders last week, so it could be a trend upwards for that Falcon secondary. So I see what you mean, and I'll give you maybe like a little bit of some Tabasco sauce on that a little bit. Not too spicy, but it had a kick.
I'll take it.
And you know what? Now it's my turn. I'm gonna say two things. One, last week I gave the hot take that Matt Patricia should be fired for the Detroit Lions, and it actually happened. Happened. I called for someone's head, and it delivered. I did not call for Jim Caldwell's head. I did not call for the GM of the Jaguars' head, but he got fired anyways because he did a bad job building that team to begin with, especially when he had Saxonville working with him. But anyway,
bring back Caldwell. Bring back Caldwell, Detroit.
Bring back Caldwell.
and guys, like with my game picks, I usually try to keep a little bit mild. So I'm going with one that Avery mentioned is going to be the Washington versus Pittsburgh game. But I do disagree with Avery on one thing. Washington's not winning that game purely because, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, for what it's worth, is a unit like any other that we have not seen in a while, man. They're allowing 17 points per game, a league first, only 17 points per game. They are 8th against the run and 1st against the pass, 3rd overall in the league. That's fair. But on the offense, though, the offense is just putrid. This is a putrid offense. Look, they are averaging 28 points per game, but that may be due to great field positioning by the defense, as well as the special teams really coming in there. But look, they are 22nd overall in the league. They are 16th in the air and 25 on the ground. But look, and people are going to say, oh, but they're 11-0 and undefeated. Most of their wins have been one-score wins. They do what the Steelers always do, which is they downplay opponents. If you just look at the Dallas game, and that's as much evidence, or the Ravens game that just happened, that they were down 10 players and they still could only manage a 5-point differential. And yeah, Jerome, like you said, injuries are not going to start hitting this team so much harder. They lost Dupree to a season-ending injury. They lost Bush to a season-ending injury. Those injuries are going to come back to bite this defense where it hurts, because you can't always rely on Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward, and TJ Watt to try to beat the bedstones. You got to have good depth to maintain that kind of efficiency. And I'm going to say that while the Ravens game kind of was what proved to be that the Steelers are a fraudulent, undefeated team, this one is going to be so much more so, because you saw what happens when you get Ben Roethlisberger under pressure, and with a line full of first rounders with the Washington football team that they have with Sweat. What's
your hot take? Because you're killing the Steelers right now, but you said
my first hot take was here's my first hot take. I'm gonna say that the Washington football team defense is going to sack Ben Roethlisberger 6 times in the game and pick him off twice. That's my first hot take. And
okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
The secondary for Washington is suspect, but that front seven, that loaded front seven, you pressure him, and you pressure Ben Roethlisberger, and he'll make mistakes. Especially because even though he's averaging a 2.3 second ball to throw time rate, which is he gets the ball out quickly. If you get just the right amount of pressure, he will panic. And I'm counting on the Washington football team defense to do that. And my second hot take, I'm gonna declare here right now, the Washington football team is going to win the NFC East this year. I'm calling it. All right. To me, the Washington football team is the most balanced team in that division. All right. The offense may not be as good as it looks, but when you have a decent game manager in Alex Smith delivering the ball to Terry McLaurin, to having a great offensive line that's blocking him, that Washington football team offensive line is severely underrated. Plus, you have a Swiss Army knife in Antonio Gibson to work with. It's just that the offense is sneaky good, and the defense I already talked about. It's one of the top in the league, top 2 in passing, top 10 in rushing. I still think that Washington can pull it off if they can get a good string of wins together. I'm not sure they can do it with the Steelers, but they could pull it off the week after.
I like that. I wanted to add something. Pittsburgh offense is very, very suspect. And you think they're going up against that Baltimore defense. I definitely think Big Ben was going to throw for more yards, and it was going to be a blowout. We all thought Pittsburgh was somehow going to win by at least 20, but they won by 5. So I definitely think that I think Big Ben's going to struggle against Washington. I can see him getting knocked around, even if it's not getting sacked. He's going to be on the ground a lot against that Washington front seven, and that secondary of Washington is not bad. It's really not as bad as people think. I think they got Kendall Fuller, who's playing some of his best football on that side of the field. So I could definitely see Pittsburgh struggling.
I definitely could see them. Definitely could see them struggling. I'm confused as to why you bashed them so much, and then you're going to win the game. But I'm gonna leave that where it lies. I feel like, again, this is upset week for me. So I'm just, a couple of upsets that I see happening, right? Like I see, like I said, the Texans upsetting the Colts. I see the Falcons upsetting the Saints. I see, definitely. I can see the Steelers being upset by Washington. Like I can see that happening. I can see the 49ers upsetting the Bills.
I can understand why. Like, let me say why I said that the Steelers won't let an upset happen against Washington, but because despite everything, coaching will matter in this game. And as much as I love Ron, and this is going to be a battle of great wits between Mike Tomlin and Ron Rivera, but I think Mike Tomlin has the edge when it comes to pulling off, keeping consistent comeback attempts in check. So I think that his squad can hold off the Washington football team just enough to squeak out the win there, because that's the type of team that the Steelers are.
But here's the issue. We don't know what the health of Jimmy Smith is like because he came off the field in that game against the Steelers. We don't know. Against the Ravens. We don't know what the health of even, what's his name, Marcus Peters is, because he looked like he was cramping up during that game as well. I mean, it didn't look to be too severe, but it's the potential that the only, healthy corner that they have would be Marlon Humphreys, and then you got an old corner and some younger guys coming in after that. Then again, no Bud Dupree. No Bush. I mean, listen, all I'm saying is I could see a potential, especially because if you saw how the Ravens are able to gash the Steelers in the run game. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for Minkah Fitzpatrick making a great play in the end zone on the tight end, the Ravens might have won that game. If we're just going to be completely honest, without Mark Ingram, without J.K. Dobbins, without Lamar Jackson, you know what I mean? So I could see a fully healthy, motivated to win their division Washington football team. I could see them coming in and upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I guess we're going to have a pick-off then. I see Steelers. You see Washington. We'll come in next Thursday and see who comes out the winner on that end. And, I just want to say one thing. You call upset week on all these teams. I'm just glad you didn't put the Jets in there with them. I really don't want any Jets wins going forward. Unless Jacksonville wins another game, I am not calling for any more Jets wins anytime soon. And with that being said, that is where we're going to wrap it up here for today's edition of the Air It Out podcast. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Major thanks to Chris Thomas and Cole Johnson and Jerome Jones for commenting in what they said. Really always a pleasure to interact with people and talk football. And guys, remember, for all of our podcasts and all of our audio stuff, you can check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, anywhere that you listen to good audio work. Inside the Hashes is there. And you can also check us out on our social media. On Facebook, we are Inside the Hashes. On Twitter, we are at Inside Hashes. On Instagram, we are at Inside the Hashes. And on Discord, you just got to type in on the Discord search Inside the Hashes, and you'll find us there. We want to talk football with every one of you guys over there, whether it's high school football, college football, the Canadian Football League, Arena Football, German Football League. We'll go international if we have to. And then the NFL, just to round it out, we're there to listen. And guys, you can also check us out, check our website and our YouTube channels for our video work, including these live stream podcasts. Inside the Hashes on YouTube, InsideTheHashes.com is our website. And I know Avery wants to say one final thought.
I was just going to say, tune in to my hot take next week.
You trying to you want to give a preview, Avery?
I'll give a preview. I'll say it like this: Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson.
That's all I'm giving you.
Are we talking about CJ 2K or the owner of the Jets?
Talking about CJ.
I think I know where you're going with this.
That's all I'm giving you.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll leave that tease up for you guys to come in and tune in next time. All right. This has been the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes for Darius Riddick, for Avery Collins. We miss you, Darren Braxton. My name is Juan Pablo Winning Camargo. We'll see you next time.